For anyone who wants to close more leads or help your sales team close more leads, and you've thought, hey, what if we could have the sales reps text message the leads to make contact? This video is for you. We helped a client who is in the business financing space set up some text messaging programs. And the initial setup, it took some time because we had to talk to sales. We had to determine what their problems were. We had to determine what the lowest hanging fruit was. We had to roll out some MVP products just to kind of test the idea, and then we had to iterate. So it takes time, but it's highly valuable. And we built this using Zapier, which is a tool that is often free. We decided to pay for it because it's $50 a month for the tier that we wanted. But so it uses Zapier and it's using Hubspot. Hubspot is a marketing automation tool. Zapier is an integration tool that kind of sits in the middle. And then we're also using Twillio. Twillio is a service that can send text messages. Twillio is very affordable too. It's less than a cent, less than 1 penny per text message that goes out. So we built this for our client. It's important. I'm going to note this up front very strongly. You need to work with your sales. If you're doing sales enablement to help them do their job better, then you need to communicate with them. You need to ask your clients or your sales department, hey, where are you having problems? So you can determine where you can fix it, where you can fill in. This particular client, we saw that they were having a hard time making contacts with the making that first contact with the lead. And then once they made contact, there was still some room for improvement in the application process. They would make the first contact, and then the business owner wouldn't fill out his application. He wouldn't fill out his application. And so our sales reps needed a little bit of help pushing the businesses over the line. So we built 2 programs for them. They've worked very well. You'll notice that this was revised recently, just this August. We built this and we've revised it, I believe, 3 times. Yeah, we've revised it 3 times for them. Because the first iteration, even though we worked closely with sales, sometimes would step on the toes of the salespeople, what they were trying to communicate and how they were, when and what they were trying to communicate. And likewise, sometimes the salespeople forgot about this text message program and would send out a text message of their own. And there were conflicts and things. So we've iterated it. We've come up with a really good solution where, yes, there are still sometimes a little hiccup, but it's very well worth it. And the sales reps love this program because it increased this. Almost this program alone has increased their conversions by 23%. The overall conversions from lead to close increased by 23% because now the salespeople are able to get in contact. That's this first program. And they're able to get applications back. That's the second program. It's important to note for TCPA, that's a government regulation body, for TCPA compliance, if you're going to send a text message, you have to have them opted into text message. So there is some wording that our client has at the bottom of their lead forms that is telling people, hey, you may be text messaged. We were a little bit concerned doing text messages because we often hate to get text messages, but these text messages are only going out to people who have already raised their hand for business loan. They've already got a relationship with our client. So there have been 0 complaints from the text message recipients. It's important to build out a flowchart or some visual explanation of what you're going to do so that the sales leaders and the salespeople that this is benefiting can see how it's going to benefit them and when it's going to happen. First of all, we just put some notifications here at the top, some little notes. Text messages are delayed by 1 to 5 minutes. That's because Zapier, the free edition, runs every 15 minutes, and the paid version that we have, only $50 a month, it runs every 5 minutes. So text messages may be delayed by as much as 5 minutes. That's completely fine. The salespeople have no problem with that. HubSpot has a strength. Zapier may have it too, but I know HubSpot has this built in. You can set programs to only run at certain times of the day and only certain days of the week. So we've set the HubSpot program to only run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, because we know that the sales reps are at their desk. If someone responds to the text or someone calls them back, the sales rep will be there. They can make immediate contact. It will better benefit the organization. Lastly, before each text message, we are checking to make sure that they're still in the category to receive text messages. This is done in Hubspot too, and I'll show you how it's done. But if we've sent text message 1 and they still haven't responded, but somehow the sales rep has found out, hey, this business is not really that interested, we don't want to send them text message 2. That would be hassling them, if they're marked dead in the CRM. So we have Hubspot doing some logic to put people in and take them out of these categories so that we're not spamming anybody. So it's important that you have steps along the way. So this is the program we built out. We've got a no contact step up here. This is for a new borrower that's come into the system and the sales rep hasn't made contact. And then down here we have a no application process. This is for the sales rep to be able to close that loop and get someone to complete an application. This was just built in Microsoft Word, just with the boxes and things. There's flowcharting software out there. One that I use a lot is called Glyphy. Flowcharting software is nice. It allows you to do this more easily. But in building this with the client, I sat down with them one afternoon and we just cranked it out real quick. And so we just used Word to put together this flowchart. So now I'm going to show you inside Hubspot. So inside Hubspot, you've got your workflows. Workflows are found under the contact menu item. You've got workflows. And a workflow is really just saying, hey, this is what the contact is already inside Hubspot, and this is what I want to happen to feed them through the process. You've got goals. This goal criteria, it just says, hey, how many people responded to the text message. This is set up in our CRM. Really, it's very custom. And so even though we know that this program has increased conversions 23%, that's a mix of both this first contact as well as the application. So we have about 14% of the people responding immediately to the text messages that we're sending out. And that extra 14% just kind of tips people over the line, and it's really helped conversion for this organization. So I will walk you through this workflow. I also want to show you, though, how they get into the workflow. So I mentioned that there is a category. I mentioned here, we've got if the borrower sits in a category, they'll receive a text message on a schedule. The category is set by this list inside Hubspot, and I'll show that to you right now, just so you can see kind of the logic that we use to get people in. So here's the list. We're looking at some values that are updated inside the CRM. In our CRM, we have a last disposition. Almost all CRMs will have this. And we're saying last disposition is no answer. So the sales rep tried to call the person, there was no answer. Status and stage, we've got two different statuses and stages in our CRM. It's kind of a unique situation. But the statuses that our clients have set are attempted. So that there's no answer, that's the last disposition. Status is set to attempted, the person tried, and stage is set to active. Sometimes in our client's organization, the salespeople will go in, they'll still leave it as attempted, but they'll just mark it as inactive or dead. So we had to make sure, okay, if someone marks it as dead, we don't want to be sending the text message, so we couldn't use just no answer and attempted. So we've set up safeguards. They need to meet all three of these criteria, and last disposition has never been equal to made contact. So the text messages that we're sending out are first touch type text messages, where if the borrower has already made contact with the sales rep, it would be really weird to get these text messages. So we're saying it's never been made contact, and is textable is equal to yes. Our client does have some leads that come in from sources where they're not entirely sure if they opted into a text message. So just to make sure they're legally safe, we're saying is textable is equal to yes, and this is a field that's being stored inside the client's database. I think it shows in the CRM, but yeah, that's the list. Before it sends a text message, it checks this every time. So between text message 1 and 2, if the person was marked as dead, they will drop out of this list. These criteria will not be met, and they will drop out of this list, and thus they won't receive the text message. So, jumping in here, you'll see we've got just a slight delay. This was, we put this in here just to make sure that the lead has had time to sync between all the systems, and when the text message goes out, the rep has availability. They've got the visibility into the lead. So just a slight little delay, and then it checks again. It says, hey, are they a member of this list? So the way they get into the workflow, it says, when active, this workflow will enroll contacts who join the list. So when they join this list, when they meet all the criteria I just showed you, they come into the workflow. And then right before we're going to send a text message, we check it again. Hey, are they still a member of the list? If not, it drops them out of the workflow. If yes, it brings them on. Okay? So how we're doing this inside of in HubSpot, we just have a field called send SMS1, send SMS2, send SMS3. We have six of these different fields, and all we're doing is incrementing it by 1. The reason we're doing this, there's a number of ways that you could do it. We sat down with the developers at our client's company. They wanted us to increment a field. So an increment of a field means in the field there was a value of 0 at first, and you increment it by 1. That's changing it to a 1. The reason why they wanted to do this is because they thought potentially maybe for some programs we would want them to be able to go through again. We want to have it incremented to if the value is 2, then we know this happened. If the value is 3, we haven't gone that complex yet, and I don't see us getting that complex, but kind of for a programmatic best practice approach, we decided to auto increment by 1. It's really a simple thing. You just click in here. It's an option inside HubSpot. You say increment a property value. You say what that field name is, and you say I increment it by 1. So we're just incrementing it by 1, and that's going to send out a text message. So I'll show you the other side in a second. When this value is incremented by 1, then Zapier, that sits in the middle of HubSpot and Twillio that sends the text messages. Zapier says, okay, I'm watching this field and it just changed to a 1. So now I'm going to tell Twillio to send a text message. It's really simple. It sounds complex, but once you set it up, you'll realize, hey, this is easy. This client, this is the first time I've set something like this up, sending text messages in Sales Enablement for a client. It's the first time I've done it. I've done it a few times since, but when I first did this, it took me hours to build it because I hadn't done it before and I had to figure out how. I'm telling you guys how to do it, so hopefully you can sit down and crank this out in an hour yourself. So we're just changing a value in a field, that's all. And then we wait 3 hours. This is that step where we're waiting before we send the next text message. And then we're checking again, hey, are they still in the attempting contact list? Do they still meet the criteria? If no, that means the sales rep either made contact or said, hey, the lead's dead, whatever. Workflow ends, let's take them out. If yes, though, we're going to increment send SMS2, that's an additional field, by 1. That's going to tell Zapier, hey, we need to send a text message through Twillio. Then we wait 3 days. We check if they're still in the list. If no, we know that they have either progressed or the sales rep has marked them as dead or whatever. We're going to take them out. We don't want to send them a text message. But if they're still in this list, then yes, we increment send SMS3 by 1. And then the workflow ends. Really simple, right? This is all you need to do in HubSpot. You set this up, and then what's going to happen is over in Zapier, so in Zapier you can see I've got all these different text messages going out. If we look at the first one, this is it right here. What Zapier is doing is Zapier is the tool that sits between HubSpot and Twillio. And Zapier is simply looking for that field named send SMS1. And if send SMS1 changes to a 1, then hey, let's tell Twillio to send a text message. And you even control what the text message is right here in Zapier. And better than that, you don't just control what the text message says, you can use data from Hubspot inside your text message and send it over to Twillio. So Hubspot has something called tokens. And Infusionsoft and Marketo and Eloqua, all of them have these as well. A token is saying, okay, I know that Ben Beck at ABC Corp is looking to borrow some money. And I know he is in the industry of producing widgets. So, I've got the industry field in his profile in HubSpot marked as widget producer or manufacturing. Let's say manufacturing. Widget producing isn't an industry, it's like a sub-industry. So, let's just say the industry is manufacturing. We could change the text message based on manufacturing. So, if a manufacturing company comes through, they'll get a text message that is custom for manufacturers. Or just one word in the text message can change based on their industry. If someone comes in for the service industry, a business's service industry, you can change that one word to something relevant to them. You can do all of this with the power of Zapier and HubSpot. So, real quick, how you set this up is when you first come into Zapier, it's going to show just this. It won't show anything below. I've already got it set up so it's showing the whole deal. But when you first come in, it will show just the top portion. You'll get to select what program you want to use. Of course, we're using HubSpot. Zapier has integrations with hundreds, if not thousands, of different programs. The first one, the one that we're using, of course, is HubSpot. So you just select HubSpot, and then it lets you say, because we're using HubSpot CRM, there's also a model for just normal HubSpot. We've got two different values here. HubSpot has a whole bunch more, but the CRM has two. So you can say new contact property changes or a new contact. We're looking at a contact property or a field value inside a contact, and that is the send SMS1 value. So we're looking for a change in that value. So you just select that, and then it will say, okay, who are you going to connect to? And we select Twillio over on this side. So we search Twillio as the tool that we want to make something happen and we want to have an action inside of. So the action we've chosen for Twillio, it's got two options. You can call a phone number or send a text message. If you call a phone number, it will call a number and it will actually do text to voice and give you a message. I'm going to go over this in a different training video, but you can use this to alert salespeople of a really hot prospect that just came in. That's just one idea. So we're going to use the send text message piece. You select that, and once you've selected that, it's going to drop down this second step right here. You select your HubSpot account. So the first time you ever use your HubSpot account inside Zapier, it will bring up a little prompt, an authorization prompt, where it's going to have you log into your HubSpot account, and then it will have been synced. It's awesome. So I just select my HubSpot account, and then the Twillio account. The same thing, it's going to open up a little window and have you authorize to allow Zapier to connect to your Twillio account. You select that. After you've selected both of these, it's going to open up this fourth step where you select the trigger. So I'm saying when this field, or when this property name inside HubSpot changes, I want something to happen. So we're watching the send SMS1 field. This is the value that's changed clear over here, right here. So once this value changes, then Zapier has been told here, hey, watch for it. And once it changes, and once it meets these criteria, do step 5. Okay, so real quick here, you've got the ability to do custom filters. You don't need to do filters, but we're putting filters in here just as another safety measure. So we're looking to make sure we have the mobile phone number for the client. So it's saying mobile phone number exists. And we're making sure that the send SMS1 field is greater than 0 but less than 2. So it's 1, right? So we just put some filters in as a safety measure. Once the this property name changes and these filters are met, then it goes to step 5. And step 5 is where you actually create your text message. So you get to tell Twillio which number to use. So inside of HubSpot and inside the CRM, we know who the sales rep is, or the marketplace owner, as our client calls it. So we know who the sales rep is, and we have the phone number inside the HubSpot data and the CRM data. So we're pulling in the phone number from HubSpot and saying, Twillio, when you send the text message, send it from this salesperson's phone number. And send it to this number, the mobile phone number of the borrower. So it inserts the relevant fields. You know, if it's an organization, this organization we've got has numerous salespeople, and so it looks at the individual contact. You know, Ben Beck from ABC Corp that's coming through this flow. And it says, okay, this is Ben Beck's phone number, and this is the phone number of the sales rep assigned to Ben Beck. So we're pulling in these values, and we're sending it to Twillio, so Twillio does it the right way. And then we get to tell Twillio what text message we want to do. So text message just says, hey, I received your info regarding business financing. Call or text me at, and then it puts in the phone number for the marketplace owner again. When you can, we put a little dash in there, and then the marketplace owner's first name. So the sales rep's first name. So this is a custom text message. These orange values are pulled in from HubSpot, and you can put anything in here you want. Like I was telling you, you could customize for industry here. So it's very powerful. If you want to include media, like an image or something, you can do that here. And then you're telling to split message, hey, if it's more than 160 characters, I want you to send 2 text messages, so split it. Otherwise, it will only send 1, and you may lose part of your text message. So Twillio and Zapier have thought through this. They've done a very good job of this implementation. It works very easy. Then you can test it, and you turn it on. That's it. You've got this turned on. It's going to talk to your Twillio account and send a text message on behalf of your salesperson. It's going to make your salesperson look awesome, and it's going to help you close more deals. So that's how you do it. Again, I'm just going to prompt you. Please talk to your clients very closely, your sales reps, the leadership at your organization, and make sure that you get their buy-in. Make sure that you have their process in place when you do this. It's going to make it work well, and you too can see big gains from using these text messages. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you.